New York native Eric Naposki cultivated a career in professional football spanning 9 years from 1988 to 1997. He played for 2 teams in the National Football League before transferring to the less prestigious World League of American Football. Following his unceremonious retirement from pro sports, Naposki largely faded from the public consciousness. Then in 2009, his name resurfaced in national headlines after the police in Newport Beach, California, made tremendous progress in their attempts to solve a cold 15-year-old murder case. Back on December the 15th of 1994, millionaire investor William McLaughlin was gunned down in his luxury Newport Beach home, which was located in a tight-knit gated community. Although the investigation initially yielded little results, the authorities eventually tied Naposki to the crime, along with Nanette Ann Johnston, the victim's living girlfriend and Naposki's secret lover. It was the former football player who'd fatally shot McLaughlin so that he and Johnston could make off with his $2.5 million life insurance policy. Despite consistently maintaining his innocence throughout the case's subsequent legal proceedings, Naposki was ultimately found guilty of first-degree murder in the summer of 2011. Although he was eligible for the death penalty, the state didn't ultimately seek it, and he was instead given life without parole. As of the latest developments, it was reported that Naposki was appealing his conviction. Furthermore, the Orange County Innocence Project had reportedly begun a review of Naposki's case. Number 7. Kevin Weir. 29-year-old Taylor Pomaski had last been seen at a house party in Spring, Texas on April the 26th of 2021 before she was reported missing to the authorities by her mother. At the time of her disappearance, Pomaski's boyfriend, former professional football player Kevin Weir, was out on bond. He'd been arrested following a traffic stop during which law enforcement recovered multiple firearms and drugs from his vehicle. As investigators continued their search for Pomaski, suspicions began to fall on Weir. The couple had allegedly gotten into a violent argument at the party where Pomaski made her last known public appearance. On December the 10th of 2021, the woman's remains were recovered from a ditch in northern Harris County, although they weren't confirmed as hers until the following May. Then in July of 2022, Weir was indicted for murder and tampering with a corpse, accused of stabbing his wife, hitting her with a blunt object, and strangling her before burning her body. To prevent a trial in his drugs and weapons case, Weir pleaded guilty to those charges and in exchange received a 15-year prison sentence. As of the latest developments, his next scheduled court appearance in connection to the murder charge was set for February of 2023. Number 6. Mike Danton. In April of 2004, the St. Louis Blues and San Jose Sharks were embroiled in a hard-fought series as part of the NHL's annual Stanley Cup playoffs. Just hours after the underdog Blues were eliminated with a devastating Game 5 defeat, one of their players, left winger Mike Danton, was arrested on a charge of conspiracy to commit murder. A criminal complaint filed in federal court revealed that Danton and 19-year-old Katie Wolfmeyer had allegedly tried to hire a hitman to kill a male acquaintance. Prosecutors would later contend that the target of the murder plot was Danton's agent, David Frost. As news of Danton's arrest began to circulate, reports surfaced detailing his complicated relationship with Frost. The pair had first met while Danton was playing for a Frost-coached junior league hockey team. After that, Frost stayed on as his manager and developed what Danton's father described as undue influence and control over his client's life. During this time, as his professional hockey career was taking off, Danton started distancing himself from his parents and eventually became estranged from them. The man also began to exhibit erratic behavior, often staying out all night, drinking heavily, and showing signs of mental instability. Following his arrest, Danton denied targeting Frost, instead insisting that it was his father, Steve, he wanted dead. He later reached a plea deal with prosecutors and ended up spending 65 months in federal prison. In the fall of 2009, Danton regained his freedom and even returned to professional hockey, playing for various teams in European leagues before his retirement in 2017. Number 5. Albert Belle. On March the 25th of 2018, former Major League Baseball player Albert Belle was arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona, for exposing himself to strangers. In a statement made by police, it was revealed that Belle had urinated next to a parked car outside a Phoenix soccer stadium before shaking his genitals at the vehicle's owner and his teenage daughter. Court records indicated he'd been charged with 2 counts of indecent exposure and 2 counts of driving under the influence. Although the charges were later dismissed, the incident wasn't the first time Belle had gotten into trouble with the law. Back in May of 2006, the 5-time All-Star and Silver Slugger was taken into police custody for allegedly harassing his ex-girlfriend while awaiting trial on a felony stalking case filed a few months earlier. According to police records, the woman had discovered a GPS tracker on her car. Law enforcement tied the device to Belle, who was also accused of making threatening remarks towards her. He was subject to electronic monitoring and prohibited from making contact with his former partner as he awaited the trial. However, the authorities were notified that he'd been making hang-up phone calls to his ex, and he was thus charged with violating the protection order. Belle was eventually sentenced to 90 days in jail, followed by 5 years probation. In October of 1995, while the man was playing for the Cleveland Indians, he was fined for reckless operation of a vehicle after chasing down teenagers who egged his house. The teen's family filed a lawsuit against Belle, seeking $850,000 in damages. In 1997, the suit was settled for an undisclosed amount. Number 4. Cedric Benson. Following a standout collegiate football career at the University of Texas, Cedric Benson was selected by the Chicago Bears with the 4th overall pick of the 2005 NFL Draft. After a pair of alcohol-related incidents in his home state of Texas, one of which involved him operating a boat while intoxicated, Benson was released by the Bears in 2008. He subsequently signed with the Cincinnati Bengals and became their leading rusher for 3 consecutive seasons before he ran into trouble with the law again. In June of 2010, Benson was arrested for allegedly punching a bartender in the face. The following year, he faced additional assault charges in the wake of a physical altercation with a former roommate. He was consequently suspended by the NFL for 1 game in 2011 before ultimately retiring from pro sports the following year. Benson's initial retirement years continued to be plagued by legal troubles. In December of 2014, he was charged with public intoxication following a verbal disturbance between a male and a female in a cab in the 900 block of North Lamar Boulevard in Austin, Texas. 2 years later, a woman sued Benson, alleging that his 2 Rottweilers had attacked her dog in Northwest Austin. Then in February of 2017, the former pro athlete was pulled over after his BMW was observed speeding in the 800 block of West 6th Street in Austin after an officer had clocked Benson going 12 miles per hour over the speed limit. The motorist proceeded to make an improper turn, then changed lanes without signaling. The traffic stop was conducted in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven and began with Benson getting out of his car and attempting to enter the convenience store, disregarding law enforcement's instructions. Officers noted his eyes were glassy, he was unsteady on his feet, his speech was slurred, and he smelled of alcohol. He refused field sobriety tests, was unable to recite the alphabet, and couldn't count past the number 3. So he was taken to Travis County Jail on a DWI. On August the 17th of 2019, Benson was killed in a motorcycle crash that also claimed the life of his female passenger. Number 3. Ken Caminiti. Throughout his eventful career in Major League Baseball, Ken Caminiti struggled with substance abuse, a personal battle he publicly opened up about in 1994. 2 years later, Caminiti was named the National League's most valuable player as a member of the San Diego Padres and remained a productive contributor for 5 different teams until his retirement in 2001. In a Sports Illustrated cover story published the following year, Caminiti revealed that he'd been abusing steroids during and after his MVP season with the Padres. It also emerged that the former baseball star had been entrenched in a long-standing battle with cocaine addiction. The problem first surfaced in 2001 when federal officers tracked him down to the Ramada Limited Hotel in Houston, Texas. Law enforcement knocked on the door of his room and immediately detected the smell of burning crack cocaine. Caminiti and his 2 unidentified companions were arrested. Then 2 years later, he tested positive for cocaine while still on probation and was ordered to attend a Texas Department of Criminal Justice operated treatment program. In 2004, the former pro athlete received his 4th cocaine-related probation violation and was sentenced to 180 days in jail. Then, on October the 10th of 2004, Caminiti overdosed while at a friend's New York City apartment. He went into cardiac arrest and ultimately died at Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx. His official cause of death was ruled as acute intoxication due to the combined effects of cocaine and opiates. Number 2. Michael Richardson. In December of 2020, a former pro football star was arrested in Phoenix, Arizona on murder charges. According to local media reports, then 59-year-old Michael Richardson had been identified by police in the fatal shooting of 47-year-old Ronald Like. Richardson, who was an All-Pro cornerback and Super Bowl champion with the 1985 Chicago Bears, was booked into Maricopa County Jail on charges of second-degree murder and misconduct involving weapons. Investigators determined that the deadly altercation between Richardson and Like had centered around $200 worth of cocaine. Official reports further described the former pro athlete as a drug dealer who amassed over 21 drug-related offenses in the years following his 1989 retirement from football. At the time of his latest arrest, he'd also been wanted on a felony warrant, which the authorities then added to his list of offenses. As of the most readily available updates, it's unclear at what stage of the legal proceedings the case currently sits. Number 1. Gervonta Davis. Just days before his scheduled bout with Hector Luis Garcia, professional boxer Gervonta Davis was arrested in Parkland, Florida, on December the 27th of 2022. He reportedly faced a charge of battery causing bodily harm in connection to a domestic violence incident involving an unnamed woman whom he'd allegedly struck on the right side of her head with a closed hands type slap, causing an abrasion on her upper lip. It was the second time Davis was accused of domestic violence in as many years, as back in 2020, the boxing star was arrested for roughing up his ex-girlfriend at a celebrity basketball game. The man was reportedly seen forcefully grabbing the woman by the shirt and dragging her to a separate room during the game, which was held at the Watsco Center at the University of Miami. Thanks for watching. Would you rather find out your favorite professional athlete was secretly a murderer or develop a crippling stutter whenever speaking to a romantic interest? Let us know in the comments section below.